All right. Well, it's great that we get this opportunity to be here on the Greater Everyday podcast. And we just got a minute before we're going to get into it. We're really excited about how God is going to move in our conversation today. And looking forward to you joining us wherever you are around the world. If you're in Namibia, or if you're in Dublin, Ireland, or if you're
Yeah.
right here in Woodbridge where we are, um, just pull up a chair, get close, and I pray that you can really be inspired by the conversation that we have today, as we really seek to be all that God's calling us to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys when you guys come on, or even if you watch this afterwards, you see we get a new look here. We're working out. We're trying some new things, trying to, improve the flow and the process of this. So our countdown timer is a little bit uh shorter. So
It
we'll work
is.
through that. So let's see what happens after we do that.
Boom.
Oh, boom.
Here
It
we
does
are.
it.
All
Oh, okay.
right.
Awesome.
Here we go. Welcome,
I
welcome,
was concerned
welcome,
about that.
welcome, welcome,
Everybody.
everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Greater Everyday Podcast. This is a place where we talk about the real issues. We have a commitment to demonize no one, to deify no one, just to deal with the real issues in an honest and fair way. And we're just two brothers having a real conversation. We're glad you're able to join us. My name is Will, and I'm here with my brother.
I'm Anton. Glad to be
Go.
back after a short break, but we back at it, and we're gonna move forward.
Absolutely. So super grateful. It was an incredible day today. God really blessed us in a great way at church. And, we're part of the Potomac Valley community, for anybody that's watching or listening from a different space. And today was just a great day. I mean, church was, the worship was lit, man.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And,
yeah, and you did your thing on there too, bro.
Brother, I'm grateful.
I hadn't seen. So like the new like background that you had going on with like the empty, it looks so clean. Like I'm texting Marcus I'm like, Marcus, that's clean, bro. Like
yeah,
I need to, I wanted to get my tentacles like on there and just make a few, like, I was just like, that looks really good. Like, my brother all, clean shaven on there. I was like, all right, let's see. I see it. See you on there.
Man. We try, but I gotta tell you, Marcus has been doing his thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, between the worship, the recording, it was just incredible. But that story from Anna sharing about Pova Cares, that was so heartbreaking, inspiring, moving, and so we're just really grateful. We've had snow. We're just kind of joking about this.
Yeah.
So we've had snow. We don't always get a lot of snow around here. So our kids are excited about the snow. We're two brothers who had to shovel snow today. So
yep,
it is what it is.
Yeah, my whole neighborhood was out. It was pretty cool. It's one thing that's cool about my block. We've made an effort to kind of meet everybody on our block, and we help each other out and things like that. It's our block is really cool. Big shout to Mini Court, if you know about that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It reminds me of being a kid, and as a kid living with his grandparents. That was what we got to do before we could go play. We had to go to all the elders on the block and square them away. And it was a good thing is we did get money for it, so it was cool. But before we can have snowball fights and and all this type of stuff, we had to go around to all the elders on the block and make sure that they can get down their stairs and all that type of stuff. So it was like I have some good memories of snow, but like walking to school over a mile in it. I'm done with it. I could, hey, the Miami church is calling sometimes. I'm just saying, bro.
Hey man. I tell you what, that's the real stuff right there. And you had that Detroit snow, so that's a whole other beast right there, man.
Yeah, like I saw that like our local schools are already closed for tomorrow, and I'm like, okay,
digital school is closed.
Yeah,
so that's what's. When I saw that text, I was like, how you gonna close digital school?
You closing digital school?
Come on, man.
They don't have school tomorrow anyway.
Right.
So I'm like, sorry to my teachers out there. I love y'all. I'm sorry.
We do love y'all. It's we got to have something to laugh about. So
yeah, it's just when you look at some things, you just got to laugh and let's carry on.
Absolutely. Well, honestly, as we're coming together here, you know, our commitment here on this podcast is really to uplift people and to inspire them, and to point out that God really is calling for us to be greater every single day in the way that we live, in the way that we think, in the way that we interact with others. And there's a powerful passage. Every time we do the pod, we always share a scripture. And there's a powerful passage that tells this profound story in the book of Hebrews. We're just going to take a look at here real quick. So let's look on over Hebrews chapter 7, and we meet this guy, Melchizedek, and he is both a king of Salem and a priest of God. We meet him first in the book of Genesis, where he has this interaction with Abraham, and then the Hebrew writer picks up to speak more about him and explains that Jesus is a priest in the order of Melchizedek. And what it says specifically about him in verse 16, it says, in speaking about Jesus, it says, we have one who became a priest, not on the basis of the regulation as to his ancestry, but on the basis of the power of an indestructible life. You know, Jesus lived a sin-free life. Jesus died on the cross. Jesus was buried in a borrowed tomb for 3 days, and then he was resurrected. And he became a priest, our priest, who literally is at the right hand of God, interceding, advocating for us, advocating for you. And he's our priest, not on the basis of the fact that he was in the right tribe or in the fact that he was in the right lineage, but on the basis of the fact that he came back from the dead, and therefore death has no hold on him. And as believers, death should have no hold on us either. You know, the fear of death falls off for the believer. And this is something that the first century church really had a good handle on. And, there have been believers throughout the ages that have understood this. But it's one of the things I think we don't have the firmest grasp on here in the 21st century, particularly here in America, because there's so much materialism and there's so much, consumerism. And Christianity is for so many is about an experience instead of about a connection with God, an indestructible bond with God. And and when I look at the scriptures, I mean, there are guys like Peter, man. They're just savage, I know your brand is humble savage, but literally, I mean, these guys, they really were like humble savages. I mean, they were just savage. I mean, it is crazy for someone to prosecute you, persecute you, convict you, and try you and convict you and say you're going to be crucified, which is the worst possible way to be killed. And your response to that is, I don't deserve to be crucified right side up. I tell you what, make it more challenging. Step up your game. Let's turn me upside down and let's see how that works. I mean, the mindset that Peter had to be in that place is just a revolutionary mindset. The mindset that one of John's, students, Polycarp, had is a revolutionary mindset that Polycarp had, because, here's this old guy standing before the proconsul, and the proconsul thinks he's going to get the better of him. But this old guy, he takes the proconsul to task. The people and the proconsul, the proconsul convicts him. The people are egging it on, and they're so furious at this old man standing up to Rome that they decide they're going to go into the highways and byways and get all the wood they can get, bring it into the Colosseum, make a big bonfire, and they're going to burn him alive. I mean, think about how crazy you had to be to burn an old man alive. And in the midst of all that, Polycarp's like, hey, don't worry about tying me. I got it. I can stand here and preach my last sermon while I'm on fire. I mean, that kind of fearless, determined mindset is the essence of what it means to be greater every day. That you truly understand the power of an indestructible life. And honestly, that's the kind of culture we want to inculcate as we're doing this podcast. Is we're really advocating for the fact that, man, These are the kinds of people that God intends for us to be, people that are not afraid to die, but are not self-centered and are not sadistic, but
Hmm.
are truly spiritual. Like, look, man, I care about all people. I'm gonna treat everybody with respect, but no matter what you do to me, I'm gonna stay the course.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of moral toughness and strong center that we really need to foster in our kids. And so, that's why I'm blown away by this passage, because Jesus is he is our priest, not based on anything than a life that cannot be destroyed. And I believe that's the life that you have, Anton, and that I have because of Jesus Christ, a life that's indestructible.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, I was, listening to you preach today, and it just made me think that one, wow. First, like, wow, okay. And then two, um, I have a long way to go in my faith.
Amen.
I have a long way to go. And
Me too.
yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know people look at where they are. Sometimes you see an example of something or of a person that's where you want to be. But realize, like the stories we read in the Bible, a lot of times like this, these are like these people, these examples are people at the end of their lives.
Right.
So this is like the end game for, it's demonstrating their faith. And if you look through like the Old Testament and all the things were happening, Daniel and the lion's den, things like that, where you saw people's faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? You should look at that and say, hey, okay, I have a goal now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at these guys, and I want to, when I'm said and done, I want to be there.
Right.
Not the opposite. Like you look at them and say, oh, well, I'll never get there. I don't understand why.
Right.
You can't get like that. You can't have faith like that in the modern day, because of this, that, because of this person or this group or this excuse or that excuse. You just have to like take these examples of the tremendous faith that you read in the Bible, and you just got to take off and try to get there.
Yeah.
Because you're only limited by your effort.
Right.
If you think that there's barriers out there, there are some, but I just think that there are a lot less than what people think.
Yes.
And if you just get after it, I mean, because as many barriers as you think you have, there's no Roman Empire out there. There's no neighboring army waiting to invade us and enslave us. And if there is, they haven't shown it on mainstream media. I haven't read about it in some like weird blog online or something. I haven't seen it anywhere. Right? You don't have the challenges that these guys have. Right? What are you willing to be set on fire for? Probably nothing right now. Right? And that's okay. Right? But if you profess to, love God as you say you do, then you really should be trying to get there.
Yeah.
And so, that's just like, in reading it, I was just like, wow, I got to step up my game. And I like that. I love seeing things and being challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm in the minority with that, or I don't know. I don't see things as like, oh, well, I'm never going to be like that guy.
Right.
Like, why am I even trying? No, it's like, all right, well, wow, that's an amazing story. Let's see when the time that I'm done, maybe I can end up there.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Time will tell.
Well, the truth is there are thousands of Christians that are unnamed that had that courage and were persecuted by the Roman Empire and were persecuted by successive empires, and to this day are persecuted around the world. I mean, we see Christians persecuted in China, persecuted in Iraq, in Syria, in places all around the world. And the truth is, in the American church, it's really interesting. There's no question that there's an assault on morality. And I'll just be fair and honest. There is an assault on morality, both from the right and from the left.
Oh, yeah.
That is a real thing, okay? But the question is not what other people do. Because I think that's so much of what the media conversation is about. Look at what this person said. Look at how awful they are. Look at how awful this person is. The question is, what are you going to do? Like, where do you stand in a time of controversy? And, and the truth is, the only way that you can actually stand for something is it has to be, your life has to be built on something. And, this is something we were talking about earlier in the week.
Yeah.
We live in a world where people reject the idea of objective morality in
Mm-hmm.
favor of subjective preference. And not everything's black and white. Honestly, no, it's really not. But there are some things that are like right and wrong, good and bad. There is evil there and good, and so I think it's important that we're clear on that. I think what helps me with understanding this too, Anton, is a couple other scriptures I just want to share for context. And
Mm-hmm.
one is found in Isaiah 54. And in Isaiah 54, it's pretty amazing what it says here in verse 16.
Hold on, let me get there for the stream.
Sure,
Let me
absolutely.
get back there. Give me a second. Isaiah 54. Bear with me, guys.
No problem. You can.
If you guys and like we always do, if you follow the pod, I throw all of the scriptures that we talk about into the stream. So into the podcast notes. So if you miss anything, and I will throw it up here as well. Isaiah 54.
Mm-hmm.
Up there, boom. See how that works.
And verse 16.
Okay. Verse 16.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to read 16 and 17.
Okay, let me get there. Let me get to 16 here. And I'm gonna put it up on the screen. Oh, okay. Here we are. Where are we? Share screen. Oh, there we are.
Boom. All right. So Isaiah 54:16 says, "See, it is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coal into flames, and forges a weapon fit for its work. And it is I who have created the destroyer to wreak havoc. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. This is their vindication from me, declares the Lord." Now, here's important context. Isaiah is amazing, and he preaches under multiple different kings.
Mm-hmm.
But historians have it that King Manasseh was so angry with Isaiah and had turned his heart so far away from God that he actually had Isaiah sawed in two, and he was killed. So you ask yourself, all right, so this guy is, a statesman, prophet, like speaks to kings, speaks to, people.
He's actually gained an audience with the court.
With the court and addressed multiple kings like Hezekiah and others. Then he's killed for his faith. So hold up. He's the one that writes this, that no weapon formed against you will prevail. It doesn't mean that you won't suffer harm. Clearly, Isaiah suffered harm. He was killed. But it didn't prevail against him, because Isaiah's testimony has echoed through the ages. Isaiah's soul is in a right relationship with God, and and he spends eternity with God. So we're not saying that life is all going to be peachy and everything's going to be great, and God's blessing will give you a Bentley, and if you have a Bentley, God bless you. That's cool. Enjoy that. But let
me get a ride real quick.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hook a brother up. This is not some prosperity hustle. This is the real deal. The truth is, Christians experience hurt, but they're not harmed. If you have a bad tooth and it needs to come out, it's going to hurt. Right. If you don't deal with that tooth, it's going to harm you. And and so we're not saying there won't be hurt, but no weapon formed against you, no weapon formed against me, no weapon formed against anyone who connects themselves with Almighty God and with the indestructible life of Jesus will prevail. That's our vindication, is that in the end and through it all, God works and really has an incredible plan. I think if we recognize that, we start to live different lives, and we start to live with a confidence and a boldness and a clarity that I really believe is very rare in our world right now.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lack of people with moral clarity and with the courage to stand up for what they believe in, to say this is right and that is wrong. A lot of people putting their head down, a lot of people bending their knee, and I think we need to be that, but also we need to foster that culture with our kids. We need to foster a
Yes.
culture that they have a moral toughness, a toughness of head and a softness of heart, incredible compassion. But man, they can't be pushovers, because the world, it's a good world, but it can also be a brutal place.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's so ironic where we're in an age of technology,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, the people who are young today, they don't have to use the Encyclopedia Britannica unless they have like an online version or something like
Google,
that. Yeah.
Google,
Yeah, you can say, you can say those two magic words, and you can learn anything you want.
anything.
But in the age of technology, you're just willing to accept anything that you see on TV as the gospel, or
Mm-hmm.
that you see on a stream, or see on, listen on a podcast. Like, just because you have to realize that everybody has the capability of getting their message, getting their words heard,
Right.
versus, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, you had to have some, not everybody, but,
Right.
most people had to have some sort of credibility before they made it on the airways.
Right.
Like, I found myself the past couple days watching interviews from like 1960, 1970,
Right.
1980. And what's crazy about that is we're still having the same debates.
Right.
We're still having the same
Nothing changes under the sun.
debates.
Yes. Yes.
And when it really comes down to something that you hit on the head, is really talking about standards.
Mm-hmm.
We for the past 50 years have been trying to get away from standards. Just been trying, like, any way we can. We can just, like, you guys in your Bible, can you just move, please, so that I can do whatever it is I feel like doing on any given day.
Right.
And it's just, that's another episode for, another pod, but,
But a good one. One we
it's
have to talk about.
we're gonna have to get into it.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that video that I showed you yet. I mean, that I sent to you yet. But
I didn't get to watch it yet.
Okay.
I checked it, but I didn't get to watch it yet.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I'm glad that there are people using their platforms for good things like this.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, what it did for me was just open my eyes up to say, wow, I thought, okay, well, we need to start from zero. Like, things that I've seen, like, okay, we need to go into the negatives. We really need to go into the dark. Like, I thought the darkness was here. I find the darkness is down here, because we have some people who I thought, if I looked to my left and my right, were on my team, and even these people who I'm looking to the left and the right are starting to compromise their ideals.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, if we can't even agree from where we start, how are we going to end up in the same place?
Absolutely. And that is why I think it's so critical that we take this perspective, that we have to have a clear model that we're following. And this is why, for me, when I read the gospel when I was 12 years old, I was blown away by Jesus. And I was fortunate to take the next 6 years to really go to lots of churches, ask lots of questions. And when I was 18, I made a clear resolution that I wanted to be a disciple of Jesus, because, Jesus's way, it's just right. It's the way. It's divine. And his example is unquestionable, not as a moral leader, but truly as the Son of God and as the example for us to follow.
Yeah.
And look, I respect people from every background because I follow Jesus.
Yes.
And you don't have to believe what I say. I'm going to treat you with love and respect because I follow Jesus. But I am uncompromising in my conviction that I can only follow Jesus. And I think we live in a world where people say, well, that's just too narrow. Well, the truth is, what you're doing is just too wide, man. Like, I mean, you just gonna do whatever you want to do every day you wake up without a standard. I'm like, no,
nope.
Man, you got to have an objective standard.
Nope.
And that's not a world where there is no hurt, but that is a world where there's no harm. because nothing can harm the person who's no longer afraid to die and no longer living for their own interest, but genuinely treats people with respect,
Yeah.
genuinely treats people with honor, doesn't degrade anyone, but doesn't diminish anyone, but also does not compromise on what is objectively true. And we need to have the courage to have the tough conversations and really go there, and not be afraid that it's going to destroy us, because it just won't.
Yeah. One thing I look at when I observe people, who might think differently than I think or have different beliefs, is when when they come across and they have a debate with someone and they find that they disagree with them, how do you react?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you tell me you don't believe in God or believe in Jesus, or you think Christianity is dumb, I'm just gonna say, all right, well, tell me
Cool.
why you think that way.
All right.
Like I don't agree with you. Like I'm not gonna go online and like I'm unfollowing you and this and that and this I just had you're a terrible person, and it's like that to me is a sign that you don't really believe what you believe.
Right.
Because if it gets you so up in arms, because to me it's like, hey, I'm gonna share with you what I have to share with you, but at the end of the day, one way or the other, we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
we will see.
Yeah. And there's only God as the judge.
Yes.
And I
Because
think,
that's again, because I'm not here to judge you. So
nah,
if if I'm wrong, which I don't think I am,
but
I'm
that's
still
cool.
not going to judge you. But if I'm right, again, it's not me that me judging you would be the least of your problems.
Right. No, bro, that's 100% right. And I just want to contribute one more passage, if you
Okay.
don't mind, turning on over to Hebrews 12. I know we
Okay.
looked at Hebrews 7, and and Hebrews 12. The book of Hebrews just builds the case about who Jesus is, and I think as we're talking about this idea of being greater every day, it's built on Jesus and what he said in John 14:12, where he said that his believers would do even greater things.
You say Hebrews 12?
But Hebrews 12, and we're going to just look at we'll start in verse 1,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll read verse 1 through 3.
Okay.
And it says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. And I read this thing about Jesus scorning the cross, that he scorned the shame of the cross, not the cross. He scorned the shame of it, because such a disgraceful way to die.
Yeah.
They strip you naked. They drive the nails through your hands, your wrists, drive the nails through the joints right there in your feet. You are humiliated. In Jesus' case, he was scourged, beaten beforehand, had his back ripped off, beaten up badly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was put on the cross. The most demeaning, humiliating, powerless, taking away all your power kind of way to die at 33 years old, with
Right.
your mom and a bunch of the sisters sitting there at the top, standing there at the bottom of your cross, seeing all this. It's just demoralizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, he scorned the shame. He's like, doesn't mess with me. Because he set his mind for the joy set before him. And I think that's the same mindset that Peter had. That's the same mindset that Polycarp had. That's a greater every day. That's a growth mindset. This is horrible right now, but I'm going to look to what's ahead. And I feel like there's a lot that I look at in the world, honestly, Anton. I'm like, man, this is horrible right now. This is, and we're not on the cross, but this is just, it's shameful, man. Some of the stuff that the people are saying and doing, and the stuff that's going on around us. And the truth is, I got to keep my eyes on Jesus. I got to fix my eyes where they need to be fixed. And that's why I'm super grateful, man. Grateful for the 40 days of prayer. Grateful for the community of believers. Grateful for our friendship, I mean, that look, hey, we're in a common fight. And I definitely want to encourage everyone, wherever you are, you got to fix your eyes on Jesus. And a big part of that is embracing the fact that there are people that have gone on before us, a great cloud of them, and they're pulling for you. And Jesus has gone before us, and he's up in heaven, and he's advocating for you and for me. And he set us a standard. And that is not a standard of compromise in the face of challenge. That is a standard of courage and conviction in the face of challenge. And that's what it means to embrace the power of an indestructible life, is nothing's going to crush where God's called me to be.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to decide.
Absolutely.
You're gonna hang it out on the fence.
Right.
I mean, okay.
Right.
Again, there are consequences. It's one of the things I tell my kids all the time. There's consequences for everything that you do. Uh-oh.
I know we're live on the podcast. Somebody's at my door. Give me 1 second.
Training them good.
Stop barking.
Training them good.
Train them good. Train them good.
So everybody, if I see there's 5 people right now looking at the chats, 5 of you in here, do me a favor. Can you go in the comments and let me know if you can hear me because of the dog? Let me know what you think about this new setup that we got going here. Let me know if something's different, how the feed looks. We're trying to do some new things. This is our first live stream on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to try out this new platform, was we were able to do both at the same time, and we don't want to leave anybody out.
Absolutely.
So also,
and I answered the door.
Yes. Okay.
We're good to go.
Okay. And then also, because of that, we the Great Everyday Pod had to have his own YouTube channel just because of this. So what I will do is, once we stop recording tomorrow, just like, every Monday, I put the audio version on the podcast. If you guys just want to have it in your ear listening, I will also upload it to Potomac Valley's YouTube channel as well, just like we normally do. But yeah, but if you go to YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube right now, it's Potomac. I mean, it's the Great Everyday Pod's separate YouTube channel, just because of the tech and the way we had to set it up. So will still be on Potomac Valley's, if that's where you've been doing it, that's where you've been consuming it. But when we do the streams from now on, in terms of YouTube, it will be on the Great Everyday Pod's own YouTube channel. So just do a quick search. I'm sure it'll come up. And, guys, thank you so much. And let me know. Let's see. My wife is saying it looks good. No, awesome. You look good.
Good job, man. Yo, it was like you prepared for that, man. Bam, bam. Yo. I gotta tell you, whatever they say, man, you greater every day, bro.
Hey,
that's where it's at, man. That was a cool move, man.
Hey, gotta plant those seeds. That's what they say, right?
Hey, bro, put in those deposits.
That's right.
But yeah, so unreal. I think, this moment that we find ourselves in, how you respond is really what matters. That's the key. Responsibility.
Yeah.
We have the ability to be able to choose how we respond. And I think a lot of times we get caught up in what's going on. What's the word? What's the gossip? What's the drama of the day? And I think it's important to be informed, but not to be consumed.
And realize that the informative part is kind of sprinkled in there a little bit, because the drama is what sells.
Right.
The drama is what keeps you there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because remember, as a kid, I know, growing up in New York, like, you watched the news in the morning and know if you had to go to school or not.
Right.
That's it. You just like we have the ticker going the crawl going across the bottom. You waited to see for me, it was like I was waiting to see Detroit Public Schools. And then once I saw that we were actually going to school, because they never canceled school.
Right.
I was just like, oh, and I turned it off. You know,
Right.
and that's how people are. Like, you know, like that's why social media is so good, because you can kind of get in, get the information that you need, and then get out. So
Right.
they had to say, like, okay, well, how can we keep? We need no, we need to keep them here,
Right.
right? And how do you keep somebody interested? You know, clickbait, drama, this and
Right.
that. Some of these things that you see every day, people have always been doing them. They
Right.
just weren't at the forefront. They just weren't
Right.
the headlines when you went to your favorite news channel. It was just like, you know, like, let's get out what we need, the important information. That's
Right.
what we need to talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about this, you know, we'll talk about the drama and, you know, this and that. But, you know, first we need to get up the pertinent information. Now it's gonna flip flop.
Right. And that's real. And so, how do you respond? Sorry, for some reason, Bailey wants to be on the podcast too.
That's okay.
And but here's the deal. I mean, I think it's really important for us just to recognize that we can't be led by those things back and forth. And you get the information that you get the insight that you get, and then you decide how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
And I think a key thing to take away from tonight, my prayer is that we can really take away the importance of recognizing that no matter what happens, who we're connected to, who we follow, embracing an objective standard is the key to having a life that is not consumed, that is not destructible, but a life that is indestructible.
Yeah. And I think what's important about that is that if you're just kind of hanging out, you don't get that.
Right.
Just like if you want, like, you know, if you're talking physically, like that's training.
Right.
If we're talking about mentally, if we're talking about training,
Right.
being discipled, studying your Bible, getting in a family group, you know, if we're just talking church family here,
Right.
you know, it's all those things to build up that mental fortitude, studying your Bible, you know, looking at the little, looking at the words below. I mean, not everybody's going to be, you know, PhD like my brother over here, you know, but,
Hey.
you know, like, you know, being prepared for the debates.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, you know, when you're in the middle, when you're, you know, people have questions, that's where people are. They're like, well, I got a question. I've always wanted to know this, you know, and if you're not prepared to like have those discussions with people, well, one, you can, you know, find somebody who is, I guess, it's just what you could do. But, you know, it might just be something simple that you can help somebody out. But, you know, you have to train, and sitting on your couch, you know, with this thing around you all the time, this is preparing you to be offended, preparing you to be angry, preparing you to be reactive. You know, it's preparing you to be all the negative things that have gotten us to the place where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you said, like if you're not training every day, how do you expect results? Right. And I think that's where we've gotten. We just want results, like results now. Right. I don't want to put any skin in the game. I just want the results.
There's no pill
no
that's gonna transform your faith into the faith that Peter developed. And I think Peter's such a great example. I mean, Peter, you know, when push came to shove, I mean, he straight up denied Jesus. When push came to shove, I mean, he made choices that were destructive choices, you know, but then he repented, you know. And when push came to shove, I mean, he compromised, you know, and gave in to racial prejudice. But then when he's challenged, he repented. And so you might make bad choices. You might be compromised. You may have been prejudiced in the way that you treated someone. You may have denied even knowing Jesus and lost it and cussed a whole bunch, you know, and that's what Peter did. But Jesus didn't give up on him. He restored him, he strengthened him. And the man, 50 days after he made that mistake, he put him back in the game to preach the most important sermon in the first century church, the opening sermon on the day of Pentecost.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't give up on him, you know. And after Peter made those bad choices with prejudice, you know, that Paul talks about in Galatia, Jesus never gave up on him. He repented. He got challenged, man. The way you're acting, it's not right. He repented. And so I just want to say, wherever we find ourselves, it's not that we live lives without difficulty or without challenge, but it is that we recognize that God's really calling us to have lives where we're constantly growing, where we're constantly going from strength to strength, or even from weakness to a little bit more strength, to a little bit more strength. And that is the path to having an indestructible life. And that's the path to truly being greater every day.
Yeah, but Will, aren't you supposed to be content with what you have in your life? Like, come on, you're being a little, you're being a little pushy, man. You
Gotta
should be,
resist mediocrity, bro.
yeah,
You gotta
you
get
gotta
you some
be.
humble savage swag and resist
No, you gotta
mediocrity,
no
baby.
no no. I'm gonna have to take you out here. You gotta be content. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it sounds like you should be, you're trying to grow, and I like being content with what I have, and like where my current mind is right now, and my friendships, and my faith. Like, I'm just happy where I am right now. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, that's the difference between a growth mindset and a
Mm-hmm.
fixed mindset.
Yeah.
And the truth is, God always called us to have a growth mindset. When God took one cell from your mother and one cell from your father and joined those cells together, that's how we started. 2 cells became 4, 4 cells became 8. It was always about multiplication, and it was always about growth. And that's how we stay alive.
Yeah.
And you start dying when your cells stop multiplying life. And so I think we've got to recognize that the physical reality, the spiritual reality, the mental health reality, is we've got to be willing to stretch ourselves and really grow. And my prayer is that we'll recognize that, if your body's strong but your mind's weak, you can be controlled. And so but if your mind's strong, you're going to do all that you can within reason to make sure your body's strong too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's important for us to truly be healthy in that way and pursue health that way.
All right. Well, looks like we're up against it. So
We are up against it.
yeah. So guys, again, if you're watching this, thank you so much for watching. And Ms. Kid, thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, thank you. If you guys again, so again, we're gonna this goes out. If you're watching this not live, please continue to leave comments at the places where something impacted you or something like that. If you're interested in being on a show or you have a topic that you want us to talk about, please email me at greatereverydaypodcast@gmail.com. Please DM me on Facebook or on YouTube, over on YouTube now, since we have the new one. Let's see, we got another one. Oh, thank you, Miss Sanders. Saunders. Yeah, so thank you guys. And yeah, so again, thank you. It was a great conversation. Next week, we'll be back here in Foundation.
That's right.
And he'll be sitting right over here. He'll be right back over there.
The snow won't stop us.
No. I mean, I told you, I was like, I didn't know it was going to start so early.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's okay. You'll be here on Sunday, so we can finish. And please let us know, what we can talk about. If you're interested in showing your face on the show, we do have the capability to do that. Right. We would like to know at least like the day of or something, so we can make sure that you're technically sound, and we can make sure we give you the best opportunity to to express your comments on the show. But it's not very hard. And so yeah, I mean, that's it. That's a great show. Thank you so much. You want to get us out of here, brother?
Absolutely. As always, this is the Greater Everyday Podcast, a place where we talk about the real issues. Demonize no one, deify no one. Just deal in truth and deal straight. And I pray that you truly do have a great week this week, and that you can be, and you'll choose to be, greater every single day. Thank you so much. Much love and respect.
See you guys later. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Peace.